Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Daily Night. I am Brian Smith, joined by my buddy Andrew Johnson. We have a fun topic today, one that I've broached with several fans that I know that are UCF, and you're about to be an alum. You're in your last year at Nicholson over
Sir.
there at UCF.
Man,
There's nothing like the rivalry. I mean, I'm just thinking like all these schools: Indiana, Purdue, Duke, North Carolina, Auburn, Alabama, Texas, Texas A&M, UCLA, USC, and for UCF, it's USF. But the caveat now, and I'll throw up the screen here in a second. Everybody can look at like the history and all that. The Bulls are not going to the Big 12, but the Knights are. And once you join a different conference, there's different alignment, there's scheduling, and you and I have just off air talked about all the possibilities. It's going to be hard.
right.
But this is the premise of the entire show, should UCF find a way to play USF at least occasionally, if not yearly, after the Knights join the Big 12 in the 2023 season? So with that, any opening thoughts you want to throw out there before we dig in?
I got a lot of thoughts, and I can just speak as a student. I can speak as a fan of the game. I can speak as someone who's actually played the game. So if you have that rival, that's the biggest thing, I swear, in the schedule. Like we were talking about before we even got on, you can damn near lose every game you got, but as long as you beat that rival, it kind of feels like a successful season. Being a Noel fan, I grew up close to Tallahassee, so I know all about the rivals from Florida versus Florida State. So I know what it feels like to have that rival, and I think it's important. But it's going to be hard to schedule them moving to the Big 12.
It is, and to that end, I want to start with this. I put up a poll on my other Twitter account, the one I got on my next to my name is my main account. But I put up a poll, and it's fun to see what people think. And I didn't, had no idea how many people would really look at it and think much of it. But the poll is pretty simple here. Let me get it direct. There it is. It's right there in the middle. Should the Knights continue to play USF once the 23 season arrives and the Knights go in playing the Big 12? Right now, it's almost 50%. Yes, it's at 46. Only 14.2% say no. 35.8% say occasionally, yet not yearly. But only 3.8% say never. That surprised me because there's a lot of venom in this. A lot of venom. So
for those guys, I feel like there's some UCF fans that kind of want to leave USF in the past.
Oh, yeah. I just thought it would be higher than 3.8. I literally thought this would be about 30% of the vote.
Right.
And it's dead last.
Yeah, as you can see, the fans want it. The fans want that rival game because it's about bragging rights, especially being an in-state rival. That's what it's about when it comes to the fans. They're not playing. So if you can win that game and you can taunt your friends, that's what it's about.
So this is pretty interesting. All right, enough on that one. I've got a few other things to share. Let's look at the series history so we can get a backlog of it. It's obviously been kind of random runs here, if you will, but this is the next one, the history directly, like scores, game by game, year by year, etc. So here it is to start at the very bottom here. We've got 2005, then 2006, 7 and on up. The first 4 years, the Knights didn't fare so well.
Right.
But then they finally got going. They even got a shutout in 2014 on the road. That's hard to do against a rival. The other part of this that's interesting is now UCF has won, if you look, 5 consecutive times. And a couple of them have been gut-wrenching for the USF Bulls. The last 2 years they could have won, but they didn't get it done. I mean, they were on the 3-yard line it was this year. We were in the booth. I'm like, they're about to lose to a team they should win by 20. They should have beat the Bulls by 20. They played terrible.
Shout out to McLean, the USF's quarterback. He's a talented guy. He willed them to the 3-yard line. Couldn't get it done, but still, that was a back and forth shootout game.
The other thing, if you look at this historically, the Knights now, I believe, lead in the series. Let's see, they got 5, 6, 7. Yeah. They're 7-6.
7-6.
So unless USF wins this next year in Tampa, the Knights will go into the unknown period with an 8-6 lead. So that's that. It's just good to have some history behind it.
Right. Exactly.
And then the next one, this is where you get into the logistics. You and I talked about this off the air. This is where athletic directors pull their hair out, because you have all these conference games, and then you only have a small window for non-conference, and you want to play good teams. But at the same time, here's the conundrum: almost every single team in all of Division I football, their athletic department depends on them to fund the other school. Now, there's a few exceptions, like Michigan basketball. They're going to make money. North Carolina basketball. Okay. There are certain schools. USF is not one, and either is UCF. They need different ways to get fans in the seats for every game they can in football, because basketball programs aren't making money. They're just not.
No.
So you got to find different avenues. But if you look at it and you want to, we can play better teams, that'll happen. Really good teams want to play at their house, not yours.
Right.
You want people at your house to donate. You want parking. You want concessions. You want the restaurants around there to be happy with you, the local chamber of commerce, all those things. It's hard to get really good opponents. But if you bring USF, who they're not Power 5, but it's a rival, you're going to put a lot of people in the seats.
Alumni, you need.
Oh, yeah, it's unique.
You win those games, those people come back and contribute to bigger facilities. So those rival games matter. But it's hard when you got one slot open. And like we talked about off air, those are usually those games that you schedule to kind of run a team over to see where you're at.
And this is the next schedule at home for the Knights. They got Louisville, Georgia Tech, Cincinnati, SMU, Navy, Temple, and South Carolina State. The last, it's what you call a pay game, what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
But the other 5, any one of them could beat UCF. This is as good a home schedule as you're going to see.
Yeah.
For a non-Power 5. So this will be their last year non-Power 5.
Right.
This is as good as it gets. Having stated that, looking at this, going forward, I'm not sure the numbers yet. They haven't talked about it for the Big 12. Are they playing a 9-game league schedule?
Right.
Is it 10? That number is paramount in helping this schedule. For that, and for all senses of reality and honesty, makes it really difficult to say, hey, you should just do X. We have to go with a couple of different scenarios with that. If it's a 9-game schedule, you're going to have one game you're going to run over somebody, South Carolina State. That's 10. Yeah. Then you only got 2 spots.
Wow.
And again, you want butts and seats. You want home games. That's why I'm leaning towards occasionally playing USF. Now, if it was an 8-game schedule for some reason, then it's not going to be.
Right.
So with that, I don't see how they're going to play them every year, but
maybe not yet.
Yeah,
maybe not every year, but hey,
if
you can fit them in there, like if you could fit USF in that right there, wow, that would be a really good 2022 schedule.
But think about the Big 12. You're going to have West Virginia. You're going to have Baylor, who I think will be the top of the conference, because I think Dave Aranda is great and a very good recruiter. Oklahoma State is a pain in the butt to beat. They just beat Notre Dame. Texas Christian, Texas Tech, UCF, Cincinnati, Houston. They have BYU. That's the team. They're really well coached.
Yeah.
There is no off week. How many teams end up in the league that could add more? There's all kinds of things to look at. But if you look at the conference, there's not an easy week. So why would you automatically add a right? There's pros and cons to this.
Yeah.
So
that rival game is going to play you. It doesn't matter their record. They're going to play you as hard as they can.
This past November is proof of that. You're 100% correct. But then I just want to throw this up just for the sake of argument. This is 23, and that, again, we do not know the Big 12 schedule for UCF.
No.
We simply do not. Stating that, there are, for whatever it's worth, this is one of the schedules we found online. Kent State is the extra game, but it's a MAC program that's had some history. They'll have some players. They got to go to Boise. That's not a fun place to play on the blue turf. And they got BYU already kind of set. They were going to play them anyway, but they're going to be actually in the Big 12. So they'll just make that a Big 12 conference game.
Exactly. So, and like you were saying, BYU is a tough, disciplined coach team.
Oh, that guy can coach.
And I think Boise State will be looking to get back after that, gut-wrenching loss. So it'll be interesting.
It's interesting to see how that plays out. But just looking at this schedule, you've got 2 out-of-conference games already. And if they play 10 conference games, you're already done.
Yeah.
You get 0. You don't get a lower FC. You don't even get like Kent State would be the lowest ranked team they would play, which is okay.
Yeah.
But that is one blockbuster schedule because, again, let's just go over it. Oklahoma State, Baylor, West
TCU,
Virginia, TCU, and Texas Tech. Those
Texas
five
Tech.
alone, the traditional ones.
Man.
You know what I mean? Like, then you had Houston.
Man. Then you had
Cincinnati.
Houston,
You know what I mean? You know, that's
oh man. Are you gonna have space to put in the USF?
you won't. That's my point.
Nah.
So 23, it may not happen, but that doesn't mean you can't set it up for like starting on just hypothetical 2026, moving forward all the way through 2032. You play home and home.
Yeah.
Something like that.
No, I think you need that. I think you need that rival game, like we talk about.
But can you do it every year if they play
not every year.
In-game schedule in the league being
not in the Big 12? They'll need those rest games because it's going to be difficult, man. The guys are going to get banged up. So just
yes, sir. Yeah, we saw that this year.
Right. So if you add that extra game with USF, that's a potential for another injury to one of your key players heading into maybe a Big 12 conference game.
That's kind of where I'm at with this.
Yeah.
So some of the things I got to find my notes. One of my 5,000 notes that I have. No, my desk. It's insane. I have I have 7 phone calls to make, 3 more podcasts, and 2 stories to write for the rest of the day. Besides that, I'm not busy.
Life of a multimedia journalist, especially one like yourself. You're always on the go. So
yeah, today's a little extreme. Logistics, we just talked about that. We can't conclude anything until we know definitively if it's 9 games or 10 games. That's a huge number. Because if you decide to play, the Big 12 was playing round robin. Everybody played everybody.
Yeah.
You know, are you going to do that? You know, and I didn't even talk about the schools outside of Texas. Iowa State, Kansas State.
Talk about the Cyclones.
You know, like Iowa State is incredibly well coached.
Yeah.
But they don't have, you know, their difference. They take some JUCO kids, they take transfers. They got a lot of Florida kids. They got a lot of Tampa, Orlando, and you know.
I think it'll, like you said, it's going to be a tough decision for the administration, but I think it'll be important to, if you're going to let USF go, to maybe start focusing on those Big 12 teams because you're going to have a lot of competition, and then maybe you can just throw those guys in every other year for the fans and the people at home, the alumni and the bragging rights. But it's going to be tough, and I think they should focus on Big 12 opponents.
You have to find a way to have, and you kind of premise this, a break game. Outside the conference is fine, but also outside the conference and not freaking Georgia. You know what I mean? It can't be a team, because I know parents don't like hearing this, especially if they got kids playing football. At a higher level, football is a sport of attrition. And I mean that in a literal sense. You need as many healthy bodies as possible that are big, fast, and mean, period. When you play teams, SEC, ACC, out of conference, whatever, because like they play Louisville again this year. They're going to be a really experienced
team. Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech is atrocious.
Right there.
But it's still an ACC team. They're going to have some big dudes walk into this state. You jack around.
You talk about it too.
And you will lose.
Yeah.
I mean, Louisville will probably be the favorite in this game. I would be surprised if they're not.
They got Malik coming back. They got Cunningham.
And they've gotten a few guys to transfer because he's coming back too. You know, 5th-year senior at quarterback, got NFL aspirations. Yeah,
I get it. Paramount to that offense.
Yeah. If he had left, this coaching staff for Louisville would have got fired this next year. Because they don't have anybody to like replace. They don't.
Honestly.
So you have that as an out-of-conference game. You can't have your other one, just as an example, like 2 or 3 years, be hello, USF's good again. You know what I mean? You need something. So
you're waiting for USF to start popping again, then we'll schedule you type thing. Nah.
Yeah, 9 games or 10 games is huge because if you only got 2 out of conference, you're going to play an ACC or Big 10 or whatever, but you can't play 2 of those. And most coaches, to be honest with you, if they play 10, would do everything they could to do, like if you're in Florida, Bethune-Cookman and South Carolina State. They just flat out would not care. They want easy. That's true.
Why wouldn't you? You need those games, man, for really.
But it's hard to get into the playoffs if you play those 2. So
But
the playoff thing and how it's voted on has changed that perception a little bit.
it's a stressful for an administration. It's going to be
yeah, because you want butts and seats,
especially
home games, but
you got those fans that's like, hey, we need to schedule tougher teams. We're never going to get to a playoff because there's UCF fans is just automatically thinking playoff, like they want to make it back. So, but to get there, you got to schedule tough teams.
Yeah,
the playoff committee is weird.
It's a rotating group, so there's no consistency. So they
really quick. I got a question for you, Brian, and just maybe for the audience and the people that's wondering, because I feel like this rival goes beyond the football field. How does this affect them? The UCF moving to the Big 12 because they're gonna, other sports have to go as well. How does it affect maybe the entire university for other maybe basketball, women's basketball? I know that UCF, USF rival is a big thing. How what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it goes back to the same word that is the answer in almost every walk of life. It starts with an M and it ends with a Y. Money.
Money.
If the football team is not winning and generating as close to max dollars as possible, it will hinder every other program.
Mm.
You can't travel, do extra things, recruit, hire the best staff unless you have money.
Money. Yes, sir.
Do those other sports make money? No.
Nah.
Do they lose a ton of money? Yes. This is college athletics has nothing to do with fair. Zero.
Good point.
Zero. Everybody wants to try to say there is no equal. There is no equal. Yeah. And it is also a scenario location. Like it's not hard being Georgia to recruit. You're an hour and 20 minutes from Atlanta. You're only one of two schools that's Power 5 in a massive state where they have high school coaches making $150K and they give them a house. It's different. Every state is every place is different. There are advantages in certain places. So you got to use what you can. So if UCF comes in, to answer your question, they do, let's say they finish top 3 the first 2 years in the league. They don't win it, but they go 9-3 2 years in a row. They get on, they get into a couple of decent bowl games. Gus is on ESPN and Fox and different shows and different things. Then they can do some stuff. But if they bottom out and go 5-7, 6-6, it will hinder all the others. And that's just the way it is because the money will not be the same. Perception will not be the same.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So,
and just to make a quick point, I know we're not talking about basketball right now, but how tough is it going to be for UCF to transition into the Big 12?
Holy crap.
Basketball court.
Woo. Well, I know this. In some way, shape, or form, Coach Dawkins is going to have to get a Texas coach. And what I mean by that state is loaded.
Yeah. Oh, that's a basketball state. Yeah.
It's an everything state.
Yeah, there you
football
go.
first, but I mean their basketball is tremendous.
Yeah, Brian, you've been there. People
it's
over there. Those football stadiums and those basketball gyms are like
you can play in front of 20,000 people in a high school football game in Texas.
Yeah, the high school is serious.
It's not surprising.
Yeah,
like they have Allen High School has a $60 million stadium that was $0 from taxpayers.
Wow,
100% donation.
High school is looking like better than college.
Oil money. It's oil money. There no other state can compete with Texas because it's got oil. That's just.
But that's a great point. He needs to at least get somebody that can.
He's going to beat those teams. He's going to need to get some of the players they did, like Kelvin Sampson. Is it Houston? That's not a program that's tradition rich, but he's a great coach and he's also a scumbag that'll recruit anybody and cheat to get him. You're going to be competing against that. That guy is dirty as it gets. Does not care. I'm an Indiana alum, I know, because he got them on probation because he's an idiot, but he can coach. You got to go against that guy twice a year. Good luck. And so you better get some of those players.
You talk about the Kansas.
Kansas. I was watching them last night. They got dudes.
You talk about teams like it's going to be very. We can do a whole podcast episode on that, but it's going to be tough for Johnny, and they're already calling for his head. It seems like so, man.
Well, they're up and down. They beat Michigan, then they get smoked.
But it's like who else do you get? And Johnny, he's already built the culture around that squad. I feel like they believe in him, even though, fans are going to talk regardless.
Well, one thing the fans need to do before they talk is actually come out to the home games.
Until
that happens. When I was at one of the games recently, I'm looking around. I'm like, this is no kidding. I went to Indiana high school basketball games as a kid. There would be 6,000 to 8,000 people at a high school game. UCF doesn't get as many fans at a college game as I used to go to in high school. So kiss my hind end about you having an opinion if you ain't gonna go sport team. I have no interest.
I feel like basketball is kind of like religion in Indiana and up
Oh,
north,
it's a fact.
like that. Yeah.
Family, basketball, and religion are the three things, and that's and some good food. That's about
Too
it.
cold out there. Too cold to be hitting out there.
Yeah, well, that's why winter basketball was so important. So anyway, football is the engine
There we go.
for the institution, academically, athletically, socially, broadcasting. When a team goes to the Final Four, they go to the playoffs. This is crazy, and I don't completely understand that. But your applications for regular student goes up.
That's what
automatic.
That's such a great point. This rival can bring up higher enrollment, more attendance to every game for every sport. Correct. So I think the rival is going to be important. Maybe not every year, but every 3 years. If you can get a USF in there, that'll be paramount for alumni, fans, and just in-state rival that that love that rival game. So big.
Yeah. Here's the deal. UCF, in my opinion, this is just kind of my final take on it for now, and I'm going to write a story somewhere through this pile of junk that I have to go through today. I mean, literally, I've got like 10 assignments in the next 5 hours. It's not going to be very friendly. But what does a Big 12 schedule look like, and how do you schedule in conjunction with it? Now, part of it, Gus is going to get a say in it to a certain degree, but there might be some games they already scheduled before he got here. Yeah. A lot of college, for people that don't know, this is no lie, and it's so dumb. Like, think of a couple, like Notre Dame and Michigan have played for a long time. They've got a game scheduled in like 2030 something.
Right. Yep. I see Florida State as well. They got a game scheduled 10 years down the road.
So sometimes you're just caught.
Yep.
So
how do you work around that?
If they go to a literal, there's only 12 regular season games. If they go to a 10-game league schedule, try to play some kind of round robin or whatever, or something close to that, you don't have any flexibility.
No.
The numbers, math is math. If it's 10, it's 10. If it's 9, it's 9. That will also dictate whether or not UCF gets to play USF consistently. There's no way you can say they're never going to play again if they don't want. They can figure it out. But to play every year,
that number is going to be very important.
If it's 10, it's 10, I will bet anybody on this planet that it's not yearly. It's not going to be realistic. It's just not. You wouldn't have enough balance because they're going to get phone calls now that they're in the Power 5. I'm just going to give you a couple of examples. You know this from living in Polk County, and I live in Tampa.
Yeah.
How many Ohio State flags, license plates, bumpers? Ohio State fans are bonkers. It's a cult. They're nuts. And Ohio people move to Florida.
Yeah.
They just do. The Sarasota area is like the highest area for Ohio State people in the country, allegedly, to move down to. And okay, fine. But we see them all the time. If Ohio State calls,
come on, man.
They're taking that phone call.
USF, Ohio State, come on.
Yeah, I mean, you just got hit by a Mack truck and you're the gnat, meaning USF is the gnat. It's just the way it is. So who else is involved? That's something else that'll be in my article.
That's another good point, yeah. If you start getting those phone calls in from those
I mean, if like
Power 5,
Iowa wants to come, like their fan base will travel anywhere. There's nothing.
We see that at the Citrus Bowl. Yeah, we see that at the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah, like you just saw that. I did Notre Dame, Iowa State in 2019. They brought a crap load of fans. There is nothing going on in Iowa. Okay, we're watching corn grow. It's not exciting. So you want them to come down because they're going to spend money at your hotels. They're going to spend money at your restaurants. Your music.
What's in the seats?
UCF will get kickbacks from that in different ways. They're going to take that. I'm sorry. Just USF comes. Their fans come in for the day and they turn in the week. You get nothing out of it.
Yeah.
Financially, there's some other happiness with, some donations, but it's the guaranteed receipt money that you think of from a business standpoint is not there.
Right.
So, because Ohio State will take over the stadium. No. Like literally.
Seriously. Yeah.
No. They will literally take. There is no price point, and it'll be an article that I write afterwards. Yeah. If they were to come down, all the UCF fans selling their tickets because it would happen when somebody offers you $1,200 for one seat.
Are you giving it up?
Yep. Conservatively, half the stadium will be red.
Yeah.
Conservatively.
But still, man,
that's just the way it is, and that would be the only reason they may not schedule them because it would be embarrassing. But fans are not giving that money up; they're just not.
Nah. So, man, that's a good point, though. Like you said, those Power 5 schools are going to start calling in, so he's going to have to weigh that in as well.
Yeah, teams Syracuse or some
Uh,
other school that's looking to come down for a warm
yeah,
weather game, something
they'll
like that.
come
That's
down
gonna
to
happen.
those up north
Oh
schools.
yeah.
They'll travel. So
So the basis here is, if, in my opinion, if they play a 9-game schedule, I think they would play them like 4 out of 6 years, and they would
okay.
add Ohio State or Oklahoma,
Yeah.
Oregon State. What is something random would be another home and home.
The question is, do they need it? Do they need that USF game?
No, I think it's more pride and tradition. We didn't really talk about that, but I mean, that's just, if you don't know that, you're probably not watching this podcast.
Yeah.
You either really like UCF, or you're not watching my podcast. Why in the hell would you be on here? So, you and I talk about it. You're a student. I'm learning a lot about the school, and I've covered recruiting and stuff for over 20 years. But this is the only time I've ever been the only site administrator for a site and got dug into tradition. It's usually been a bunch of us. Like, I've worked on Notre Dame sites. I've worked on massive things, different things, Florida State at different sites. I've helped LSU. That's different because they're just blue bloods. I've helped the Florida side, etc.
That tradition, no tradition.
Yeah, they don't need, they can do whatever the hell they want. They're the one that picks the phone and says, well, we're going to play them. They're not going to turn us down. No. It's just true. That's what the whole argument with UCF and Florida was in the first place. The old AD said, we don't need you. You're not Power 5. Open anyway, said it publicly. I mean, the guy was a jerk, but he was still right. They didn't need UCF. Yeah. They could get all kinds of teams to come down to play at the Swamp. Why would they give the local school any chance that might recruit against them? Mm. That was the whole point, was recruiting. They'd give them zero chance to recruit against us. Keep them down. Now,
maybe that Gus might be thinking about that as well. Maybe I don't want to play USF because if we slip up and
that is absolutely a pragmatic way to look at it.
Yeah.
But if you play 9 games, I have a hard time believing it's not 4 out of 6 years, if not more, depends. No. 4 out of 6 years. But if it goes to 10, I think it goes to 2 out of 6 years.
2 out of 6. Oh.
Because you're going to play a South Carolina State and then one other.
A Bethune, you need those.
I mean, it could be Louisville. It could be Notre Dame. It could be somebody. It's all over the map. You could play 2 lesser, but you want home game. The thing is, you don't want to play home and home. You want to play home, then home again.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's not playing you on the road twice. Ohio State's not playing you on the road twice. Oklahoma's not playing you on the road twice. You have to be realistic. So that game against USF is cool, but at the end of the day, money is everything. They will never admit to 1 cent of what I just said, but it's still 1,000,000% true. They have to pay for the women's volleyball team, which every time whoever the AD is at the current time at UCF opens the books and he sees women's volleyball, he cringes.
No,
because the numbers are horrific.
Yeah. Those sports like tennis and
killed. They're getting
rowing
killed.
and little sports like that, it's not making them.
And it's not going to get better traveling to Texas at
all.
all.
They're going to lose a lot of money.
Yep. So they have to go all in to do whatever they can to support them by winning in football. And that's, donations. They're doing improvements. And we'll do a show. I'm sure that Gus will talk. He's been great about it. They get up there and they talk about it. Hey, we're going to add this or this, and he'll give little snippets. They should have a little more concrete, pun intended, with what their improvements are going to be soon.
Yeah.
In terms of, okay, this is first. Like, we've seen blueprints. They've done that. But it's cool to go out there and see them break ground and see a construction crew on something, specific, a building. Hey, this is done. This lounge is done. The recruiting lounge is done. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Those things sell. That helps donations and all that. That helps to move to the Big 12. So hopefully you can make a few more games like USF possible.
Yeah.
But right now there is no guarantee. So
I think you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Any last thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything, man. That's good. I just want to hear people's responses in the comments. Like, do you guys want to see UCF and USF? Should they continue that tradition?
Right.
Because if you're a fan of the game, rivals are a big thing in football, at any sport. And they can mean the most. They can mean the whole season. So I just want to see what people have to say.
A couple of things. Number one, for what Andrew just mentioned, if you're going to leave a comment, by all means, but here's 2 possibilities for, just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
If you're going to say yes, why?
Yeah.
Number 2, if you're going to say yes or no, state the reason that you think it should happen from a financial perspective. Test your knowledge. And if you don't understand how scheduling works, it is unbelievably it's Calc 4. It is not algebra. the dollars and cents that go on, they got to pay for the women's rowing team or whatever it is. That every school has something different. Can UCF afford to play USF instead of bringing Ohio State?
Yeah,
it's a valid question.
Comment below.
Terry, he's a good AD at UCF and he's done some things. These are the kind of questions where he either does or doesn't get a pay raise. Because answer, you know what I mean? This is touchy.
It's cool to come to the games and boom, but you gotta hit the paperwork, and that's where you make a name for yourself, really, as an AD.
You know what I mean? Because like I could tell you as a Midwest guy, all the Midwest schools want to come down to Florida from a fan base standpoint. It's logistically a pain for them too. But Notre Dame's played at Florida State a few times recently. They used to have a series with Miami. Who is it? Florida's getting ready to play Michigan or somebody in the home. I can't remember. But there's a lot of things like that are happening now. And if you can get somebody like you, if Notre Dame calls, you have to take it. If Michigan calls, you have to take it. You know what I mean? Because I'm sorry, USF, but in 3 years, we're bringing the Wolverines down here.
Yeah. And there's biggest point of contention is 9 or 10 games. Are they going to have an extra slot? Or if you got 10, there's no way, because somebody's going to be calling, and you can't turn down a big school like that. There's no way.
You're going to get your butt kicked. You're going to get your butt kicked at that, and it's called by the dollar bill. It's the answering point. So again, here's the question: should UCF play USF, and why? And now, if you want to get really prove your knowledge, here's how we can do it and make it financially feasible. I highly doubt anybody tries that one, but it's super complex, and somebody could probably write their thesis on it. Literally, I mean, you better be really good at math.
Yeah.
And then go take it to Terry if you want to challenge that. I don't really want to do that. I'll let Terry have fun.
We'll leave that to him.
I'll go talk to Gus. I'll talk X's and O's. I don't want any part of the financial aspect of it. That's terrible. Last thing, everybody make sure they like and subscribe. It's a lot of fun to do this show, but the more people we have on, the more we're going to do. Like I said earlier on Inside the Nights, it's my bread and butter. Literally, it's how I get paid. It's on Fan Nation, powered by Sports Illustrated. The next article I'm going to do is going to do like a mock schedule. UCF in 2020. There is no conference schedule. They won't announce that for like a year.
Right.
But this is what it looks like. And the reason I'm doing that, it's interesting. And then on top of the other article I did this morning talking about this topic, should they play the Bulls?
Yeah.
Because fitting the two together is a jigsaw puzzle that is very, very, very hard. A bunch of small pieces in there. So anyway, for Andrew Johnson, I'm Brian Smith. Thank you very much. And we'll be back tomorrow. Everybody have a great day.